A class action lawsuit against websites accused of tricking South Africans into signing up for unwanted services has cleared its final appeal. The Stellenbosch University Law Clinic says it wants to hold the company behind the websites responsible for fraud. For more on this conversation, we're joined by Odwan Weber from Stellenbosch University Law Clinic. Appreciate your time this evening. Now, what is a class action lawsuit about, and what are the allegations against the websites involved in this case?
Thank you very much, Hugo, and good evening to your listeners. So the matter basically relates to an alleged defrauding of thousands of consumers by Damian Malinda and his Lifestyle Direct International Group from 2015 to 2019. So the Law Clinic has applied for certification of a class action against the websites and their owners who duped consumers into believing that they were actually applying for loan or were in fact going into these websites to get assistance for applying for a loan. But hidden in the terms and conditions of the agreements that they were entering into was a subscription for telephonic services, which then deducted monies immediately thereafter after they entered into the agreements from their bank accounts.
Now, when you say hidden, what do you mean they were hidden?
Yes. So when a consumer then goes into these websites, they're immediately caught with an apply now. So when you go into that apply now, you are taken to an application form. The application form is in the form of a form that you would normally get at the bank when you're applying for a loan. So it requests your personal details, your banking details. So consumers enter into that agreement thinking that they actually, in fact, are going to be assisted either by getting a loan or by getting assistance in being provided with the loan. But what actually is happening behind the terms and conditions that are not provided to the consumers is that in actual fact, they're actually entering into a telephonic legal service agreement with a subscription of 12 months with an initial payment of between 399 to 429 Rand and 99 Rand thereafter.
So let's separate issues rather, or look at what appear to be the two issues at hand. The one issue is that these clients, or unassuming South Africans, were logging into this website and signing for services that they actually weren't looking for. Now,
not at all.
When they signed for these services, were these services provided in that 12-month period?
Yes. So in actual fact, firstly, these services that they relate to are legal services. One, none of these companies are actually registered with the Legal Practice Council, which is the body that governs attorneys in South Africa. So for one, they were never permitted to provide any legal services. And in actual fact, they never actually provided those legal services to the consumers that actually prescribed to this agreement that they entered into.
So when we talk about alleged fraud, it seems pretty clear that from what you're suggesting, that the intention of this individual was only to take people's money, defraud them, without giving or rendering any services.
None at all.
So what makes this class action lawsuit significant in South Africa, and what are some of the legal issues it addresses, such as obviously click-wrap agreements and dark pattern marketing, from what we understand?
Yes. So this particular class action is significant in South Africa. For one, it is the first consumer law class action in South Africa. Secondly, it's the first certified class action by a South African law clinic. And then thirdly, it's an important class action because it brings together various people throughout South Africa. So it's not only limited to people that are actually residing in the jurisdiction of the Western Cape High Court. It's far-reaching. We also have people that are actually in Limpopo. We have people in KZN. We have people in the Eastern Cape. So it becomes a very important case because, for one, it saves judicial resources, because those clients now are then able to institute their claim in one court instead of going to different courts throughout the country.
Now, how many people are involved in this class action, firstly? And secondly, do you have a value? Do you have a number for the total amount that was actually defrauded of these individuals?
So our estimation of the people that are involved in this matter, judging from the papers that we received from the respondents, it's plus minus 45,000 consumers. And on our own calculation and based on estimations, we estimate that the amount that has been defrauded from all these consumers is plus minus 500 million rand.
500 million rand. That is a huge, huge amount. So let's talk about possible ramifications. Once this goes to trial, and if the individual is indeed found guilty, what is likely to happen?
Yes. So unfortunately, they won't be found guilty in this instance, but they will be liable to pay. So because this is a class action, there is a class definition that we've provided. So the class definition basically says all consumers that went onto these websites and then thereafter were either threatened or their accounts were then debited by these 12 websites form part of the class, and they have to be from 2015 up to date. So those people will form part of the class action. So the class action, the next step now is that we will institute an action in the Western Cape High Court by serving the respondents with our summonses. Once we've served our summonses, the matter will then proceed to trial. After the trial concludes and the judge makes a judgment in our favor, if the judge makes a judgment in our favor, then all those consumers that form part of the class action that don't opt out, obviously, will then have recourse against the respondent. So they'll be able to recover the amounts that were either debited from their account and the bank charges that they then were deducted as well.
Maybe for those of us that aren't law experts, explain why Damian Malinda won't be found guilty.
Yeah, so this is a civil matter, so we have to determine liability in this matter. And then in a criminal matter, you would then be found guilty for whatever crime you would have then committed. But in this one, it's a civil action, so we're just determining if he's liable for all these allegations that we're making against him.
Now, can criminal proceedings happen after this or at any point during this?
Yes, we are very hopeful that the South African Police Service will take this up as well and institute a criminal case against Mr. Malinda.
Now, Odwa, I'd imagine that you're putting up for a very, very big fight, because if he has indeed defrauded 45,000 unassuming South Africans of $500 million rand, that he's potentially got some of the best lawyers, or at least a very, very capable team.
Yes. Well, I would assume he does, but you would understand that the matter has gone through different courts, and each court has found that based on, remember, it first went to the Western Cape High Court where we seek certification. We were granted certification in the Western Cape High Court. He then appealed in that court. His appeal was dismissed. He then appealed he petitioned the SCA, the Supreme Court of Appeal. His application fell there as well. He launched a reconsideration of that decision in terms of Section 17 of the Superior Courts Act. That was also dismissed. And then finally he went to the Constitutional Court, where again we won that case, and his matter for leave to appeal was dismissed by the Constitutional Court.
So let's talk about these websites. I think there were, between 12 and 15 websites, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Have these websites been shut down?
Yes. So the websites were subsequently shut down after we had launched our action. So unfortunately, those websites are no longer functioning. But we suspect that Mr. Malinda has opened up other websites where they have a similar modus operandi as the websites that have been shut down.
And from what do you draw your suspicions?
So there's a few websites that have popped up since this matter has commenced. They have the same apply now for a loan, looking for a loan, so on and so forth, and hidden terms and conditions. So they have a similar way in which they set up to the websites that he had previously. So we suspect that he's continuing with the scheme, but he's opening up other websites under different names.
So absolutely no remorse in that. Odwa Nweba from Stellenbosch
Yes.
University Law Clinic. Appreciate your time on the show.